Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Den. It's time to talk about Witch from Mercury, episode 6. And all I gotta say is drama, 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 all the drama. It's just drama. Everyone has drama. No one gets to be happy. Everyone has drama. Drama. There, that's my synopsis of the episode. Let's get on to the spoilers. Just kidding. Okay, so let's kind of break down the episode. A lot happened, and unfortunately, a lot of it is very spoiler territory. So I'm going to try my best to not spoil the beginning part of this in case you haven't seen the episode yet. The episode begins with Lady Prospera talking to that Pell Industries woman, and they were kind of going back and forth about the Ariel, about Gundam weaponry, and make reference to something that occurred 21 years ago. And that brings up some interesting questions that I'll speculate on later in the video. In addition to that, we got to see Suletta and the Earth Dorm kind of talking about her date with Elan and the challenge of the duel, including Mirine, who is not happy about this because obviously Suletta's status as the holder could be lost if she is defeated. And if that happens, well, then Mirine has to owe her allegiance to someone else. We also see that Guljaturk has been removed from his dorm. He's been more or less disowned by his dad, which, ouch. I guess after 2 losses in a row, and one of those losses being an unauthorized fight, unauthorized from the side of his family, not unauthorized by the school, he's kind of been put into the doghouse. Be interesting to see what happens to Gil. I get the feeling he's probably going to join the Earth Dorm. It's hard to say who else would bring him in at this point, but he's still a talented mobile suit pilot, and you never know. Any of these dorms could be in need of a talented mobile suit pilot. We then also get to see Elan dealing with his handlers. We learn a little bit more about what his deal is, and it's pretty rough. This episode, we get to focus back on Suletta, despite the fact that we're following everyone else's drama. We find out that she doesn't really know what she wants to put up for in the duel, but she does eventually come up with something. In addition to that, because they were going to have more of a space-type environment, the Ariel needs a jetpack. So the Earth Dorm basically is trying to struggle to get her a flight pack so that she can compete on even ground with the Pharact. We also get a return of the most depressing song in all of, well, at least this timeline of Gundam, Happy Birthday, as Suletta wishes Elan a happy birthday because if he doesn't have one, today may as well be his birthday. Which, I mean, yeah, it kind of works. Finally, we have the big duel, where we get to see the Ariel and the Pharact go up against each other. This was pretty hype, and it was a pretty intense duel, beginning initially using conventional weapons, and then Elan essentially activating his levels to upgrade his weaponry and use his funnels, gun to bits, whatever, in order to try to take down the Ariel. And we actually get to see Suletta get serious in combat, probably for the first time. We've seen her use her gun bits as well, but this time we see her on a whole nother level that kind of freaks Elan out. And I'm wondering if this is, again, one of those cyber new type brain clashes, or if this actually is weaponry within the system of the Ariel. It makes for a really cool ending to the duel and brings up a lot more questions about the Ariel. On the character side of things, obviously all the drama has led to some interesting character shifts here. So we'll get the minor ones out of the way first before we get to our big 2. One, Guljaturk now no longer has a home, which means he's going to have to kowtow to some faction. We're going to see how that turns out in the next couple episodes. I get the feeling he'll join the Earth Dorm just so he can spend time with Suletta, but it is also very likely he could find himself going to one of his other allies and asking to be part of their dorm, at least for temporary times. Gul is a man of pride, so he's not going to beg for anything. He'll either demand it or just straight up take it. But who knows? He could end up just asking Suletta for help. It's unlikely, but it is something that could happen. Mirine is super jelly. She needs to go to the jelly school. Oh man. Mirine is not just like upset because someone else could become the holder other than Suletta, but there seems to be a little bit of jealousy of Suletta's interest in Elan. It seems interesting to me because on the one hand, Suletta doesn't seem to have a romantic interest in Mirine. It never seems to really be there. Maybe it's something they'll build up to later on, but for the time being, it feels like Suletta views Mirine as a really close friend or confidant versus viewing her as a romantic partner. On the other hand, more and more, it's feeling like Miorine probably does have feelings for Suletta. And I'm wondering if this is going to be one of those unrequited love kind of things. It's hard to say where they're going to go with this. Maybe it's just queer baiting. Who knows? Anyhow, I do think it's cute that Miorine is a little bit jealous of Suletta wanting to know more about Elan. Which brings us to Elan. Elan, wow, he has some deep issues. You know, learning a bit more about how he was, I guess, created, for lack of a better word. I'm not quite sure on the terms of this. They're still unclear on the process of creating these super soldier, cyber witches, whatever. But it does seem like whatever memories of the past he had are gone, or he had such a traumatic childhood, it didn't matter. I get the feeling he was probably an orphan based on the way he's talking about things, because he said he never had anyone to ever celebrate his birthday, and that was probably the case. Or he was created in a lab to begin with. It's really hard to say. They're still vague on a few things, but we do know that he had a very, very rough childhood. You know, he didn't reveal a lot to Suletta because he's still Elan, but the things we've learned in the spoilers, oof, that's going to have some consequences for later on in the series for sure. Finally, we have Suletta. Suletta has shown an interest in Elan, whether it is a romantic interest in the first guy she ever went on a date with, or if it's now herself feeling like, hey, why did he have interest in me to begin with? Was it just to get the aerial? Or does he actually care about me and is under some sort of pressure to get the aerial? She wants to know what's going on with him, and I do like that. She doesn't immediately go to the whole he was trying to use me, though she does admit that is very likely a possibility, but wants to hear it from Elan himself, not just assume it and move on with life. Seeing how she is behaving for Elan, the levels she goes with, goes directly into what I was talking about in the previous episode about her emotional intelligence, where, okay, if Elan says he's never had a birthday, then I will give him a birthday. I will do what I can to make the Ice Prince smile. I want to be part of his life. And I feel a lot of this is probably down to her compassion and her kindness over something like romantic interest in the very cut off and cold Elan. Aesthetically, not a lot to really talk about in this episode, but we did get that jetpack thing for the aerial. And I think the first thing that went through my mind is the first thing that went through any Gunpla builder's mind. Oh man, Bandai's going to charge us like $20 for that thing. You know, it's not going to be a mass market version. We're either going to get a premium Bandai version of the kit with the jetpack, or we're going to get an accessory kit for the aerial that features the jetpack and maybe a couple extra weapons that'll show up later in the series, or don't show up at all, just weapons they decided to create to flesh out the pack. Either way, it feels premium Bandai to me. It feels like it's just, we need to just sell more toys to these people, which is one of the reasons why I'm always nervous about being an early adopter, because the last thing I want to find out is, oh, by the way, here's the upgraded accessory version. Oh, you didn't want just the plain Jane version, did you? You pay for that FOMO. On the other hand, of course, if you're someone like me who loves grunt suits, you can buy all the grunt suits you want, because there ain't no consequence to that. Probably not going to see an alternate grunt suit, and if you do, you just add it to the army. But for main suits, it always gets to be a bit of an issue, and it just kind of annoys me when I see this going like, oh, episode 6, guys. The first upgrade is in episode 6. We got like 19 more episodes. That is at least 2 more upgrades, possibly 3. So get your wallets ready, because Bandai is going to find ways of sucking all our money and putting it into their piggy bank. You just know it. Overall, I loved this episode. The ending put me in that mindset of like, oh, I'm feeling emotions. How's this going to affect the rest of the series? And then seeing that next episode title, Shall We Gundam, definitely brings up some interesting questions as to what that episode's about. And I'll say this here because I've never had the chance to really talk about it before. I like the fact that the next time is an episode title and that's it. So you can't sit there and try to go frame by frame through the footage going like, oh, it looks like such and such is yelling at someone else, and oh, it looks like a fight between these two. It's just a title, and I love that because it gets me going, that could mean a lot of things. So we'll see where that goes. Definitely curious about the full capacity of the aerial and what Suletta's deal actually is. In addition to that, 21 years thing brings up a lot of questions too, because Suletta's only 17 years old. That begs a lot of questions. If you haven't seen the episode yet, I really recommend doing so. because the spoilers I'm going to talk about will ruin the episode for you. So let's talk about the 21 years thing. This brings up a couple possibilities. The first is that perhaps Suletta is the second daughter of Lady Prospera. Follow me on this. What if something tragically happened to Eri, and Elnora essentially either cloned her daughter or used some sort of genetic technology to create a new version of her daughter, maybe a little bit of her DNA, a little bit of whatever stuff she would need in order to make Suletta a proper full-powered witch. And I could see that taking about 4 years. It seems a little odd to me that a 4-year-old Suletta is inside Ariel, except for that would imply, if Suletta is Eri, that the Ariel was either already built, or that despite the fact that the unit refers to itself as Ariel in the short story, it could potentially be the Lafrith with a new operating system. It's really hard to say, and brings up a lot of questions. This is the first evidence we've been given that makes us go, wait, but Suletta is 17. However, it could also be referring to possibly when Lady Prospera got her cybernetic parts. That there's something that occurred before the events of Prologue that she talks about the Doctor having saved her life. So it is very possible that an accident happened or a betrayal of some sort, which led to her needing the cybernetic parts and led to her, being the woman that she is now. Again, a lot of those questions and a lot of those kind of speculations on the side of myself and a bunch of people online. And I think that adds just enough mystery to keep me wanting to watch and learn more about what's going on with the Mercury family. Next up, of course, is Elan Ceres. Yeah, he's either a clone or a person who was modified to look like Elan, because we see the real Elan, or who we can assume is the real Elan, and test subject 4 was literally either plastic surgery into looking like Elan, or was a clone, and this is just number 4 in the trial series of trying to make a more powerful Gundam-wielding clone. We don't really know, but man, that at that moment of going like, oh, that's what they meant by sharing someone's face. They even offer that if he can acquire the Ariel, they will give him his own life, his own identity, and allow him to just go on and just live as normal. Fake Elan ends up also making reference to the fact that if he does too many more fights, he will die. So yeah, it seems like these clones or modified humans have a lifespan. Either it's amount of times they can use their, cyber witch powers, or maybe it is just this amount of strain on their body from being in combat. It does seem like there's a very limited lifespan for these beings. The bigger thing is that Elan dies at the end. This brings up a lot of questions. Are we going to see subject number 5 come out, who will have none of the memories of the previous version, or at least shouldn't have the memories of the previous version? Or will Elan Sama make his way into the school to go and get information his own way? Regardless, the man Suletta knows as Elan Ceres is basically gone. The loss of Elan is going to probably have a huge impact on Suletta. There's no way it couldn't have an effect on her. No matter what, it will have an effect on her. Because either it's going to seem like Elan forgot everything about their relationship, or when the real one shows up and says, by the way, that was one of my clones, we threw his ass away because he's a failure, and when I have the chance, I'm taking you down. That's all going to have a huge impact on Suletta, and that's going to lead to so much more drama. And my theory that Elan would end up being a major villain later on seems to be true. It's just that the true Elan will end up being that villain and not one of the clones. Though it is very possible he could fight alongside his clones, which would be kind of weird, but I guess that's like the Puru army from Double Zeta Gundam. But a lot of this is going to lead into some crazy stuff, and all I can do is speculate right now because we just don't have enough information. Final big thing to talk about, of course, is the big duel, where we do learn that Elan is upset. He clearly is angry and envious of Suletta and the life she's led, which is something I speculated on in the previous episode. That idea that Suletta had an easy life and he has had a difficult life does make him angry and feel like he has been mistreated, he has been used, and she has just had the cushy life of friends and family and birthdays. And to an extent, he's not wrong, but none of that is Suletta's fault. it seems like a lot of the things that have happened to the clone are not his own choice. Just like what happened to Suletta's life is not her choice. What Elan doesn't know is that a lot of Suletta's life has been manipulated by Lady Prospera. And it clearly shows that these two have both been manipulated, but in very different ways. A more cold, aggressive, and mechanical way for Elan, a more loving and emotionally manipulative way from Lady Prospera. That isn't even the big part of this duel. The fact that the Ariel can create some sort of weird illusion type thing, but again, as I said in the talk about the storyline, this could have been some sort of new type style reaction thing, or perhaps Ariel has more powers than we were led to believe, which again brings up another question: how are they able to develop a mobile suit this advanced when clearly the Lefrith had a lot of issues with it? The lady at the beginning talking to Prospera goes on to say there's no way you developed this mobile suit by yourself. Who's been helping you? Who's been developing this advanced technology? And that's a good question because we don't know. And obviously, Lady Prospera is not going to let that information slip to a competing company. What we do know is that clearly the Ariel has more tricks up its sleeve than we thought. As the battle comes to a conclusion, it really does seem like the strain of using the gun bits caused some damage to Elan, and Suletta even pulls him out of the Faracht in order to just kind of help him stabilize him to some extent. Again, showing that strong emotional intelligence that Suletta uses to really differentiate herself as a mobile suit pilot, and especially as a protagonist. If she keeps this kind of stuff up, I actually might start liking her. But the fact that she pulls Elan out and tries to kind of stabilize him is really very moving. And the fact that you could tell that she reached Elan's heart in the end when he's singing Happy Birthday is very moving and very sad. And it's very reminiscent, of course, of the ending of Prologue with Ares' father singing Happy Birthday as he charges into battle, knowing he's going to die just so he can let his wife and daughter escape. And you very much see a parallel there. And I think that kind of storytelling really shows the strengths of Witch of Mercury. While I do have my issues with the show, I have noticed since Prologue that there is a deep emotional layer to the show. And when it can get to those deeper points, it really makes me appreciate the show more. Wrapping up, I don't think there's much else I can really add, other than I'm excited to see what next episode is going to offer. I am also sad to see this version of Elan go. I wasn't expecting a character to die this early in the show, especially because everything seemed so kid gloves for most of the show. And I'll admit, I do kind of feel sorry for Suletta, because what we're going to have in next episode is her not only feeling bad because she was stood up for her second date with Elan, but also the fact that she's going to probably learn that he's no longer at the school, or learn that the Elan she knew is gone and there's a new one in his place, which would really freak someone out if you think about that. So yeah, I have a lot of hopes going into the next episode. I'm liking that I'm starting to see some character development here for Suletta. She really needed it. And I think there's a lot of potential for the show, though the overpowered nature of the Ariel at the end of the duel, we'll see if that gets a good explanation, and we'll see what effects it has on the machine and on Suletta herself. Hopefully she just doesn't get to just pull new powers out of her ass every 5 minutes, because that's not going to make this a fun show. It just turns her into a overpowered Mary Sue type character, and I don't think any of us want that in our Gundam series. We already had Benazir Lynx. We don't need another one. All right. Thank you for watching. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode. And until next time, I'm the Dapper Bard, and I'll see you at the tavern talking more Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury.